everyone, my name's Allie and welcome back to my channel, Mindful Living. Well, it's finally that time of year again, and spring has officially sprung. If you're anything like me, this is my favorite time of year, and I just can't wait to start my container garden outside this year. So I wanted to take you guys behind the scenes this year and show you step by step how I plan my container garden on my balcony. Keep in mind, I am working with very limited space, so I make sure to optimize every inch of my balcony, and this year I'm adding more plants than ever. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So here I am just showing you guys my seed collection this year. I definitely have added a few new things to the mix, along with planting some of my favorites that I did last year, like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, and more. So I'm just showing you guys here how exactly I plan out my garden. So here I've just sketched out my square footage and where things are that are not going to be moved, like my chair, my table, my barbecue, etc. So I recommend making a plan for yourself like this. It makes it a lot easier to make sure that each plant in your garden is getting the right amount of sunlight and simply the best spot you can put it for the best optimal growth. It's very important as a gardener that you are choosing the right spot for the right plant. So I'm going to get started here by showing you guys what I plan to put in my shaded area. So this is the area of my balcony that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. Typically, the best things to grow in this area are greens, so I'm going to go ahead and show you which greens I will be planting this year. Starting off with a loose leaf lettuce blend. I did this last year and it did very well on my balcony. Moving on to oriental greens. This will be the first time I am growing this. Along with romaine lettuce. I have actually never grown a romaine lettuce before, so I'm really excited for that one. Next up is bok choy. This is another first for me that I have not experimented with. Moving on to arugula. This is one of my favorite greens and it's a staple in my garden every year. Next is buttercrunch lettuce, which is a more heat-tolerant lettuce, so I will be growing this throughout the entire spring and summer. Next is a curly dwarf variety of kale. I did 2 of these last year and I absolutely love them. And finishing it off with spinach, another favorite and classic in my garden. Next, I'm going to show you guys which herbs I am going to be planting this year. Starting off with chives, which I did do last year, rosemary, and parsley. Both of these are new for me. I have grown them in previous years, but I did not grow them last year. Next is evergreen bunching onion. Plan to do quite a few of those. And basil. I absolutely love cooking with basil, so I do multiple containers of basil on my balcony every year. Next up is dill, another thing I love cooking with and have to have every year in my garden. Moving on to oregano, followed by thyme, which is another one that is great for cooking with, adding into sauces, salad dressings. And last but not least, peppermint. So I wanted to get my hands on some peppermint last year, but the seeds were gone. This I plan to use to deter squirrels away. I've heard that they absolutely hate the smell of peppermint, so I definitely plan to strategically place the peppermint around my garden. Okay, and now moving on to what I call my big container crops. So this will be my first year growing strawberries. I have started a few from seed indoors about a month ago that I am hoping will work out, but I've also purchased an actual store-bought seedling that's already out on my patio, and I will be growing this as well. I plan to do a few containers of strawberries this year, and I'm so excited. Okay, moving on to beets, and this is a different variety for me. I like to call it my candy cane striped beets, and they are a unique Italian heirloom variety, so I'm super excited to try those. Next, I will be growing 3 different types of cherry tomatoes. So there's yellow, orange, and red in this variety pack. And I've decided to go ahead and do a larger size tomato this year, so I will be growing Roma tomatoes as well. Next is Oregon sugar pod peas. I've never grown these before and I'm super excited to see how they turn out. Just your typical bush bean. This is a tender green variety. I grew bush beans last year and they work so well on my balcony, so I'll definitely be growing those again. Next, I have a Black Beauty variety of eggplant. Eggplant is one of my favorite vegetables, and I have grown this in the past, so it's definitely a staple in my container garden. Along with peppers, of course, I love growing peppers, and this year I'm doing a red pepper. Next is a pickle bush variety of cucumber. This is the exact same one that I grew last year, and I'm hoping to have a little better success by moving the container to a different spot on my balcony. It simply got too much sun last year, and it didn't do as well as I wanted. From there, I just have two more things I'm growing, which is jalapeno peppers. I grew these last year as well, and they turned out great. And another new thing that I'm growing, which is banana peppers. I love banana peppers. I really love to pickle them and use them in different dishes. And yeah, that's everything that I'm growing in my container garden this year. Just wanted to show you guys how my sketch ended up. And as you can see, I've identified where the heavy sunlight is, where the medium sunlight is, and where the morning sunlight is. So these ones over on the side here, they get full sun, so I have to make sure to put plants that can tolerate that in this area. From there I have my peppers, beans, and I do have a new rack that I am using this year, which will allow me to optimize the space a little bit better as well. Like I said, I've put my cucumber off to the other side where it gets medium sunlight this year. And then over in the corner here is where it gets afternoon shade, so this is where all of my lettuces and greens go. It's so important to properly plan as a gardener because you want to make sure you get the best results. Gardening does take a lot of effort, so we need to make sure that we're putting plants in the right spot so they grow correctly. And I'm just going to quickly go ahead and show you guys me doing some of my seeds this year. I didn't share this last year, so I just wanted to quickly show you guys how I plant my seeds. Number one thing is to make sure you label them. If you're like me, when you're having somewhere from 20 to 30 plants, it can get a little tricky if you don't label correctly. So starting off, I just have some pods here with some seed starting mix, and I'm just going to moisten this all with water. You want to make sure that it's fairly wet, and I'm just using a spray bottle to do that. Okay, so let's get started with the rosemary. So always pay attention to the back of the package. This tells you how many days until the seed will sprout, and it also tells you the spacing along with how deep you should plant the seed into the soil. So I'm just putting quite a few seeds in here because one is you never know which seeds are going to work out, and sometimes one seedling will do better than the other. Once you're done, cover it with soil and go ahead and give it another spritz of water. Moving on to chives. I love chives, and again, always make sure to check the back. This one will sprout in about 7 to 14 days, and it is an heirloom variety, so it takes a little longer. And that's why I've started some of my seeds today. You want to make sure to start your seeds at the right time of year. That's another really important thing. So make sure to be checking your frost date and your temperature for your area. These ones here can withstand the cooler weather, so that's why I'm starting with these seeds first today. Moving on to kale. Again, I just put 2 holes in the middle of my little containers here, and I'm going to do multiple seeds in each one just to make sure, again, that they sprout. And I plan to do more than one kale plant this year as well. Give it a quick spritz of water. And yeah, I just went ahead and did the exact same thing with my peppermint and my bok choy. I'm not going to show you guys that because it will get repetitive. And from there, I've just gone ahead and moved this under my grow light. So you do want to make sure that you have a grow light for your seedlings. I have one that is timed here so the seedlings get the right amount of sunlight, and it's important to make sure that they never dry out. We want to leave the soil moist, especially when the seeds are germinating. I hope if you guys enjoyed this planning my 2021 garden with me, you will leave me a like, leave me a comment down below with what you're planning this year for your garden, and as always, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next one.